What does the best 17 look like for the Cowboys? The zero tackle team here. We've made our call and we're going to break it down for you in this video. But before we do that, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have plenty of NRL content coming out for you this year. For now, let's go. Best 17, Cowboys. Before we get into it, don't forget zerotackle.com is the #1 independent destination for all your NRL news, player movement, and now games. Check out our latest game, NRL Streaker. Test out your footy stats knowledge, challenge your mates, and see if you can get your name on the leaderboard. All right, and here to break down the best 17 for the Cowboys, zero tackle analyst Darren Parkin. How are you, mate?
Going well, yeah. Interesting side, the Cowboys. Keen to get into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've been on the cusp of achieving, some greatness in recent seasons. Just haven't quite got there. They've struggled to contend with those, those top four sides. So now they're looking to sort of bridge that gap between, those top four sides and what they've got with Todd Payten.
Yeah, absolutely. They were, 5th, 6th for a lot of the year and were capable of beating most sides, but they were exposed a bit by that top echelon. It probably demonstrated the gap between the top four and in particular the top two and everybody else. A very powerful side that can score quite heavily. They've started to win some matches on the road, which was a bit of a stumbling block for them as well. They were a bit of fodder really in the finals. At that first win, they were actually probably a touch fortunate to get through that, and then they got exposed a bit in the semi by the Sharks. So, there's a bit of an area of focus for them to improve their defence. So they were easily the worst defensive record of the finalists, but ranked 3rd for scoring. So it just shows some of the things that they'll be focusing on.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's get to the best 17, and we'll start with the backs. Okay, so starting with #1, obviously Scott Drinkwater at fullback. Pretty straightforward there.
Yeah, and probably second choice origin as well. Dylan Edwards, the Panthers holding him out, but he's been a star and an easy one for them to pick. There has been some questions around him potentially moving to 5/8, but if things aren't working, they've got the option of moving him around a little bit. Tom Chester being out for the season with an ACL doesn't necessarily help their decision making in that space. They're a bit thin for depth. They'd probably call on someone like Robert Derby or something if they were significantly hamstrung by injuries.
Yep, absolutely. And then the wingers, so Murray Taulagi and Valemei.
Yeah, Taulagi the easy one. That's a lock that they were going to pick. But the other spot probably not quite as easy for them. Gone with Valemei's power and running helps address a few of the issues that they're trying to fix in terms of bridging that gap. I think that's more of a needs-based call, but they do have a lot of options. Braden Burns will be pushing pretty hard. Robert Derby, who we mentioned before, would see himself as an option. Jackson Paulo, who we've spoken or will speak about again as well, making the shift from the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, so good options there. In the centres, we have Zach Labert and Vilea.
Yeah, so Labert was a regular, blew his knee out in the early to middle stages of last year. They've had issues in that area, so he'll walk back in as somebody that can potentially fix that. We've mentioned Burns and Paulo a couple of times being in the mix for the other role. So they've got a bit to work through in their meetings. This one's not absolutely locked away, but we think the former Warrior will start in that spot.
Yep. And then the halves combination of Tom Dearden and Jake Clifford.
Yeah, so Tom Dearden could play 6 or 7. He's handled 5/8 so well in recent times at club and also at state level for higher honours. Most of the other options on the list are probably more specialist halfbacks, so we think he'll get the 5/8 role. And then Jake Clifford replaced Townsend last year on his return from the Super League, played some of the best football of his career, so we think he'll start in this role. Again, a lot of depth here, though. The likes of Duffy and those sorts of players can put pressure on.
Yeah, so they got some good options there.
Yep.
Good depth there. Let's move now to the forwards. Okay, so the two props will start with Griffin Neame and Jason Taumalolo.
Yeah, Jason Taumalolo, the veteran, could come off the bench. We think at times during the season he probably will, but all things being equal with everyone available, probably starts. Griffin Neame, again, not straightforward, making good progress in his career, looks to have a fair bit of upside. There is going to be some pressure on them, though, for starting spots. Jordan McLean, Cohen Hess, Sam McIntyre, Harrison Edwards. There's a lot of names that they can roll through these areas in the middle forward roles, but they're the two we've settled on to start.
Yep. And then the lock position, a little bit of grey area here. So Ruben Cotter.
Yeah, not the easiest selection meetings for them. He's a certain starter. It's just where. He hasn't put a foot wrong when occupying this role in the lock position in recent times. We've given him that nod. He could easily move into the props, though.
Yeah, but someone that is a clear walk-up starter, so Reece Robson as hooker.
Yeah, we think that's one less selection headache. They've probably got maybe 10 of the 13 on-field positions that are a bit up in the air, but this is not one of them. So they've got, well, they're not loaded with depth, so even factoring in that, they don't have a lot of options. But yeah, he'll be a clear walk-up start.
Yep. And then finishing off the forwards, so we have the second rollers of John Bateman and Jeremiah Nanai.
Yeah, Lukai's ACL injury unsettled them a little bit. John Bateman, another player with experience in the UK, wants to play on the edge, and he should get that chance here. And Nanai probably sums them up a little bit. He's an attacking weapon that has some defensive frailties, which is a bit like them as a side. So if he can sort of work on that, then he can definitely help them improve.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's get to the interchange now. All right, and rounding out the bench, we have Carl Lawton, Jordan McLean, Sam McIntyre, and Cohen Hess.
Yeah, a bit of a theme on the bench is versatility. So they're players that can play more than one role. Lawton, Hess, and McIntyre fit that bill. Another that does, who's not on the bench, is Kai O'Donnell. I think he'll pop up, made the switch back from England. So we'll see him a little bit through this, and kind of summed it up by saying, once you pick the 13, their bench is easy. It's just the 13 is tricky to settle on. But you know who you'll have left once you've done that.
All right, well, that wraps it up. So that's our best 17. Again, the tricky part is picking the 13, and then Kai O'Donnell quite unlucky to make it.
Yeah, unlucky not to be in that bench squad. They've got a lot of versatile players on the park, but also waiting in the wings, and he's one of those. He's just got a couple ahead of him in the pecking order, but making the switch back from England, he's certainly someone who we would anticipate to play a fair bit during the season, but with everybody available, he just misses out.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see him very soon. So that is our best 17 for this year for the Cowboys. Let us know what you guys think. Jump into that comment section and have your say. Thank you, Darren, for that.
No worries. Fascinating team.
Yeah. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have plenty of NRL content coming out this year. It's going to be a big year for the channel. Catch all the latest NRL news, and thank you for watching.